Okay, so I am live. I hope you can all hear me okay. I don't normally go live in the evenings. However, yeah, I thought I would switch it up a little bit and do something a little bit different. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So today I want to talk to you about the black mother wound, the black mother wound. Okay, what is the black mother wound? So the reason that I want to talk about this is because I've had an influx of new clients recently, and it just seems to be the topic of conversation. A lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are, recognizing that they can no longer hold in what they've been holding in, and they need to process it. They need to look at it, and and then they've been saying that they've been. When they Google it, it's my website, my work on the black mother wound that comes up. So it's a huge topic of conversation right now. And also the fact that it's Mother's Day in the UK on the 10th of March, which is like just over a month away. I want to give people an opportunity to reintroduce myself around this part of the work that I do for those of you that don't know my work. So I really wanted to really share and take you on a journey actually over the next few weeks. So we'll talk about exploring what the mother wound is. We'll be talking about, obviously with Valentine's Day coming up next week, how does the mother wound impact your relationships? We're going to be talking about wounded daughters and boundaries. We're going to be talking about grief. How do you grieve the loss of somebody that's still alive? These are all questions that I've been asked that's coming up in session. And so I really thought it was time. It's been a while since I've actually really done a deep dive series around the black mother wound, what it is, why it's important. Do you have the characteristics of a black mother wound? And there's so many questions. So, if this is a topic that's really close to your heart, if you have a challenging relationship with your mother, if you find Mother's Day really, really painful, if Valentine's Day is painful for you for different reasons, then this series I'm going to take you on, this journey that I'm going to take you on over the next few weeks, okay, is really, put your notifications on, sign up to my email list if you haven't done so already. You can go to heal.juneallen.net and you can sign up to my email list, because I'll be nurturing the people on my email list even more with lots more stuff. So yeah, so also, to kind of mark all of this work that I'm going to be doing around the black mother wound, I have two live events that I'm going to be doing. There's one live event that's going to be on the 24th of February, on Saturday 24th of February. I'm going to be doing a managing Mother's Day workshop for black women, obviously. And yeah, we're going to be looking at the mother wound. We're going to be looking at how you can manage Mother's Day, what to do before, what to do after, what to do during, even if you don't want to celebrate it, how are you gonna manage all of that? How are you gonna manage all of your feelings and all of that kind of stuff that comes up when Mother's Day comes around? And then the second half of it's a half day retreat. The second part of the day, it's going to be a bit more of a chilled out. We're going to be doing some stuff around inner child and stuff like that. Not specific work around the inner child, but just an opportunity for you to chill and chat. There'll be games and stuff as well. So if you want to play Barbies, if you want to do colouring with affirmations, if you want to play jacks, it's going to be sort of like a retro inspired evening. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity for you to connect with the other sisters as well, because I quite often see that when I do these half day retreats, that people don't want to go home. We do the healing circle bit for the first half, and then after the session, if when it's time to go home, people don't want to go home. So I kind of switched up the way that the retreats are run, so that there's more time for people to chill and chat, catch up. There'll be really nice music. There'll be some light snacks, obviously, because it's a retro inspired thing. We'll probably have some retro sweets and stuff like that. So if you're interested, all of the details are in the link in my bio. So you can go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Right, so let's get into today's content. So for those of you that have just joined, my name is June Allen, and I'm the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So today I just want to create an introduction to what is the black mother wound. Okay, what is the black mother wound? So the way that I explain the black mother wound is kind of like there's three circles. Okay, three circles. The inner circle, okay, is about the relationship that you have with yourself. Okay, it's the relationship that you have with yourself. So, you're going to look at how the mother wound itself has impacted how you treat yourself, because your mother, whoever she is going to be a mirror. The way that she treats you, okay, is going to be a blueprint for how you treat yourself. Okay, so we're going to look at what's the internal script, what's the internal dialogue that you tell yourself. Okay, quite often it can be an internalized voice of your mother. Your mother can become your inner critic. Okay, so we're going to look at that first and foremost, and how you actually treat yourself. The second circle is the relationship that you have with your mum. Okay, we're going to look at that directly. We're going to look at the attachment stuff. We're going to look at you know just any of the traumas and stuff, the specific traumas that have impacted you, the things that you find really difficult about the relationship. What language does she use? All of that kind of stuff. How what is going on in the relationship itself? How are you able to show up as an adult in the relationship, or do you kind of regress into a younger part of yourself where she can control, she's in control, because you're not able to show up as an adult in the relationship. So we look at all of that as well. And then the third part of the mother wound is what happened, what's going on socially, what's going on at a cultural level. So this is where we look at how systems of oppression, how racism, sexism, patriarchy, all of that stuff, how does that impact your relationship to your mum? Okay, now when we're talking about black women, obviously we're going to be talking about how slavery, and if you think about black women as well, or black people that have come over in terms of the Windrush generation and stuff like that, that can also have an impact on the mother wound, because there's separation that has happened as well. When we talk about Windrush, I've worked with black women whose parents left them in the Caribbean, and they came over to this country to work and to send money home and do all that stuff. They were good intentions, but the result of that is often that they were left in the Caribbean a lot longer than they wanted to be left. And then they got, when the parents eventually send for them to come over, then that wound is there because the mother wasn't there. The attachment has been broken. Yeah, the attachment has been broken, and they find it very, very difficult then to connect back to the mother. They're in a strange country, they're in England, they don't know what's going on, they have to go to a strange school, and the mother is not often equipped to be able to deal with the difficulties around the attachment being broken, and having to deal with the racism. The parent probably dealt with racism and stuff as well, but the child going to a school having to deal with racism. There's a lot of layers, there's a lot of stuff going on. So having to deal with all of that, having to deal with all of those layers, you know and without any support or anything like that, that's a lot for one person to carry. It makes sense why there is a wound. It makes sense why there is that mother wound. And oftentimes as well, there's quite often, because of the intergenerational stuff that's going on, it's not just about Windrush and about, if we talk about slavery and stuff like that as well, there's the mother wound, there's the intergenerational pain that's coming through that line as well. And, I always say this as well, that, none of our ancestors went to therapy. None of our great 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 grandmothers or whatever went to therapy when they left the plantations. And so those things that happened on the plantation, those the separation, the abuse that the women on those plantations endured, that our ancestors endured, all of that stuff, okay, was never really healed. And so, what's happened then is you then get a generation after generation after generation of women, of mothers that don't really know how to care for their children and don't know how to care for themselves. So it ends up that the abandonment stuff and the trauma just gets passed on and passed on and passed on until somebody in the family decides, no, this is not going to continue. This is not going to, I'm not going to pass this on to my children. Somebody has to start doing the therapeutic work. Somebody has to choose in the family to start doing the therapeutic work. Yeah, and that's how you start to break the patterns that have been passed down. It's not just going to happen overnight. There's a lot of stuff to unpack. Yeah, But when people start, the way that I work with clients around healing their, or starting to look at and unpack the mother wound, is that because that, those three circles that I just explained, that there's a lot in each layer. There's a lot in each layer. So beginning with the relationship with self, beginning with the relationship with self is the first place to start, because at the end of the day you can't control it. There's a lot of stuff that you can't control around the relationship with your mom, racism and all. You're limited on that, on what you can control in those things. So starting with the relationship with yourself, learning how to nurture yourself, learning how to understand what your needs are, really starting to question, okay, well, what is the real truth? What is the real truth around the relationship with my mum? Why is the relationship with my mum so difficult? How do I feel? How do I currently feel about the relationship with my mum? Is there shame that comes up when I try and have that conversation? Have you tried to have that conversation before with other people, only for it to be shut down? Okay, because I think for a lot of us in the community as well, we find it very difficult to have that conversation with ourselves or other people about the mother wound, because there's so much going on already in the community. We're trying to survive under these systems that quite often there's not space there. We don't have a lot of us don't have the capacity to start having conversations about the mother wound, because there's already so much stuff that we're trying to survive. And this is one of the reasons why I've always spoken quite honestly and openly, but not just about my own mother wound and how I've what the journey that I've been on with my own mother wound challenges. But it's important for me to say this stuff out loud, because it's important for me to share that actually people that are going through this are not alone. And quite oftentimes, a lot of people are very isolated when it comes to talking about black mother wound stuff. People are very isolated and they feel ashamed, because people are always shaming other people to keep quiet about it. They'll shame them in so many different ways. They'll shame them using Christianity and the Bible. They'll start saying you've only got one mom and all of that kind of stuff. And we know all of that. But unless you've actually been through that situation, it's very hard for people to understand. It's very, very difficult for people to understand how difficult it is to start having conversations and do the grief work, and really just to start to be honest with themselves. It's very, very difficult for people to do that. And so people then they start to turn it in on themselves. They start to blame themselves. Oh, there must be something wrong with me, why my mother can't love me. It must be something wrong with me, why she talks to me a certain type of way. It must be something wrong with me that she wasn't able to look after me when I was a child, and all the rest of it. All of that stuff, you end up internalizing it, because society and the community don't want you to talk about your mother wound. They don't want, we're supposed to idolize our mothers. And it's just not true for a lot of people. It's just not true for a lot of people. A lot of people do not, that's just not their experience. It's just not their experience with a lot of it. A lot of people find it very, very difficult. It's a very, very painful subject, and it requires a lot of compassion. A lot of compassion and a lot of patience, and it actually takes a lot of courage. I see a lot of courage in my clients when they begin to talk about this stuff, and you can see how painful it is, because they almost feel like they're betraying. They feel like they're betraying their own mother by having those types of conversations. But people are not going to get well. They're not going to heal from the mother wound unless they're willing to have the conversation. And it's not about disrespecting their mum. It's not about, you know, not being compassionate to their own mother's story or whatever, because a lot of the times they're victims themselves. But there's a process that has to follow. There's a process that needs to be worked through in order to do this mother wound work. And it means you have to first start off with the relationship with self, okay? And what has happened to you? What have you internalized as a result of that challenging relationship? Okay? If you're not first and foremost willing to tell the truth about the relationship with your mum, there's no healing that's going to take place. Okay, you can't do this mother wound work on your own. That's the other thing that I was going to say. There's lots of books out there about healing the mother wound and all the rest of it, and you can get lots of insight. I've read loads of them. Okay, I've read loads of them. and you can get a lot of insight from reading those books. But when it comes to the actual processing, and understanding what's happening to you and why you feel the way that you feel, and how to process your feelings, how to process the emotions, how to process the shame, how to process the anger, the rage that often comes up, because ultimately this is the person that gave life to you. Okay, this is ultimately the person that gave you life. So for you to actually have to process that you can't have you have a very difficult, challenging relationship with that person, or that person has been abusive, or that person has betrayed you, or been neglectful, or didn't protect you when you were getting abused by this, that, and the other person. Your mother was not able to protect you. You're going to feel some sort of type of way about that. And it is going to have an impact on how you show up in the world. It's going to have an impact on how you show up in the world. It's going to have an impact on how you treat yourself. It's going to have an impact on how you show up in the world. It's going to have an impact on your relationships. It's going to have an impact on your sister friends. This is something that comes up time and time and time again, you know, with the ladies that join my membership, or when I do the day retreats and all of that. This conversation comes up all the time. And quite often, the reason why black women find it hard to connect with each other, they find it difficult to connect with each other, they don't trust other black women, or they think other black women don't like them, quite often it's rooted in, it's a mother wound conversation. It's a mother wound conversation. They haven't learned how to be in relationship with other black women. Okay, they find it difficult to have relationships with other black women because the core relationship, the core person, the most important black woman, who should have been the most important black woman to that person, okay, is the one that's actually causing the pain, is the one that's been abusive, is the one that's been neglectful. So of course, when you get around other black women, you feel like you can't trust them. You feel like you don't want to be close to them. You feel like you don't want to be vulnerable around them, because you've learned, because of the relationship, the difficult relationship with your mum, that it's unsafe. You've learned that it's unsafe, okay, for you to get close to other black women, or to be vulnerable around other black women. It's not safe. So of course you need to protect yourself. Of course you need to protect yourself. But what happens as a result of that as well is that you become hardened. You can become hardened to it, and it becomes very, very difficult then for you to be vulnerable, and to even connect with the femininity within yourself. You can disconnect yourself from your own femininity. You know, I've heard a lot of black women have conversations that, you know, my clients that talk about this stuff, some of the impact that they've had. Some of them have actually made the decision that they don't want to have children. Some of the women that I've worked with have actually made the decision that they don't want to have children because they are absolutely terrified that they're gonna do to their children what their mum did to them. Okay? Some of the women that I work with have made the decision that they don't want to be parents, they don't want to become mothers, because they are absolutely terrified that they're going to do to their children what their mum did to them. And if I'm honest, that was one of the reasons that I was really terrified of becoming a parent. And that's what actually brought me into recovery. That's one of the reasons why I started going to therapy and going into recovery, because I thought, you know, I need help with this. I'm absolutely terrified. I don't want to bring a child into the world, and I don't want my daughter to have the same relationship with me that I have with my mum. I didn't want to repeat the same patterns. So that's what drove me into therapy and going into recovery. And actually that's what kept me there. Because every time I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I can't be doing with all this. It's too much hard work. It's too painful. You know, this, that, and the other. I just kept thinking about my daughter. If I don't stay and keep doing this work, what's going to happen to her? What's going to happen to my relationship to her if I don't stay? So I stayed. Not only did I stay, but I ended up training as a therapist. And here we are. You know, here we are doing this work, and not only am I breaking the patterns, I'm also teaching, and I'm serving the community. I'm doing this live stream. You know, I support my clients through this work. I'm not just talking about the kind of bog standard mother wound stuff that leaves out all of the stuff around systemic oppression. That stuff is relevant. If you're a black woman, that stuff is relevant. Because you can't tell me that the trauma and the stress and the pain that my ancestors went through in Jamaica on those plantations, getting raped and God knows what else, them not getting leaving the plantations and not having any therapy or whatever. You can't tell me that that stuff is not going to get passed down at some level. The attachment's been broken all over the place. Families separated, having to work at such a young age for so long and not have any autonomy over their own bodies. You mean to tell me that that is going to have an impact on how we parent? That is going to have an impact on how we feel about ourselves. But unless you're actually creating a space to be able to unpack those things, to unpack those three layers that I talked about, you're going to pass those patterns on. It's inevitable that you're going to pass those patterns on, because without the actual work being done, you're just going to, it's a lot of it's going to be in your unconscious and you're just going to repeat it. You're just going to repeat it. So it's important for you to understand why the black mother wound is important, how it's different from other people that are dealing with their own mother wounds. And the thing is as well, we are still living under the system. Okay, it might not be as extreme as, you know, our ancestors that live on the plantation, but black women and black mothers are still, we're being abused and oppressed in a different way. But it's still happening. It's still happening. The pressure that black women and black mothers are put under the system, having to deal with racism, patriarchy, all of the isms, okay? We're having to deal with all of that. That is going to have an impact on our capacity to be able to parent in a nurturing, compassionate, loving way. Because we've got a lot of stress, okay? So the way that I work with clients is I create a space for them, first and foremost, to be able to understand. So there's the psychoeducation piece. Okay, if you go to my website, if you're looking at my, you know, my Instagram or whatever, there's going to be loads of stuff that's going to be coming up. There's loads of stuff previous that you can look at. If you scroll down, you know, from Mother's Day last year, you'll see a lot of the stuff that I've created. Okay, but if you put your notifications on and you stay with me over the next few weeks, there's more to come. Okay, it's important that you understand that you're not alone and that there is help out there. There is help out there, and I'm hoping that this live stream that I've done today is the beginning of that. Okay, so if there's anything that I've shared about today that you want more support on, or that you want more explanation about, or you know you've got any questions about anything that I've shared today, you can drop me a DM, or you can email me info@yardofgreatness.com. I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it. If you're struggling with the mother wound and you're looking for some support around it, there's the in-person half-day retreat that I'm going to be doing on the 24th of February. Okay, it's going to be in person. It's in Brixton, so you can come to that. Okay, if you go to click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. You can get your tickets there. Okay, and this is early bird on until the 11th. You've got until Sunday evening, midnight. Okay, London time, to get your early bird. I think it's £40 versus £50. Okay, to get your tickets for the half day retreat an early bird at the early bird price. Okay, so yeah, if you've got anything else that you want to share with me about this or any questions, please feel free to send me a message. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it helpful. Just know that you're not alone. Okay, just know that you're not alone. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next time. All right, take care. Bye bye.